my husband and I are members of the book club. And because it was in an English book club, and we've had old people have a hard time learning new languages. So I didn't think we would survive. I knew we wouldn't survive in a French book club. I don't exactly remember when we started, but between 5 and 10 years. Mary is terrific. The members of the book club, it's very diverse, and everybody's nice and has something to contribute. So that part's fun. And it makes, at least for us, it makes us read things that we wouldn't necessarily pick up. Mary's goal is to pick, over the course of the year, have one book that you love and one that you don't care for everybody. And so she does a really good job. I sort of like, I don't know, kind of mystery action things, which are sort of not typical and are not the favorite books that I will talk about. For me, they're entertainment. And yet they often have history in them, so that you're learning history at the same time. I was introduced to reading when I was growing up in Maryland, and we lived in the country, and I was an only child, and my parents both worked. My mother worked at Public Health Service Hospital in Baltimore, and on her lunch hour, she would go to a library, the Enoch Pratt Library, and ask the librarians to give her a bag of books for me to read. And one of the books that came was a book called Ben and Me by Robert Lawson. And it's about Benjamin Franklin. But the me is a little animal. And so for an 8-year-old, I mean, this was a really interesting story. And I think it just sort of got me hooked on reading, knowing that historical people whose names you hear actually had lives and, did things and could do some kind of goofy things. And that was sort of a revelation to me. We lived in the country. There wasn't any place to go. I was home, and I would get in trouble, actually, because I would be supposed to be dusting or vacuuming or mopping or something. And my mother would come in and find me sitting on the bed reading. As I grew up and I went to university, I originally wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And but you had to have a major and a minor, an academic major and minor. So I was an English major with a history minor. And I happened to take a book on children's literature. And one of the things that we read in that class were the Winnie the Pooh stories by A.A. Milne, which I had never read. And I was, 19, 20. And they had I still love them. And I still have that collection, although my granddaughter has it now. There are so many good in those books. There's problem solving, there's friendship, there's, helping other people, overcoming problems. And they're entertaining as well. I mean, the characters have life. I read the book reviews in the New York Times. And because when we're in the US, we go to Barnes and Noble. They have a newsletter that comes out. And I don't know. And then other times we just go to bookstores and look. I mean, a bookstore is difficult to pass by. And we'll just pick up something just because it sounds interesting. It's interesting now because our granddaughter is in CEGEP, and she's interested in ecology and the food sources and climate change. And so books that my daughter and I may have read when she was in high school or college, things by Barbara Kingsolver, we are now sort of passing on to Amanda so that she's, just to give her, some other points of view, not other points of view, but a supporting point of view. So, yeah. And I mean, no, it's not just within the family. We have friends. We go to Arizona for 3 months for the winter months because ice and snow are not really good for old people. And we have family and friends who come down and meet us there for various periods of time. And they may bring books. There are lots of wonderful things that I see here are these little box libraries on the street. And I keep meaning to maybe go, I don't know how many people would appreciate finding English books in there. But I keep thinking, we should drop some books off there. But so they'll pick up things. Something that I gave my granddaughter, I passed on, my sister-in-law picked it up in one of those little boxes in Arizona and said, this was really good. And it's called The Evolution of Calpurnia Tate. It's an easy read, it's interesting. And because it talks about nature and animals and interactions within a family, I passed it on to my granddaughter and said, I think you might enjoy this. The one that I know the library should have is the other book. I actually have a copy too, because we buy all the books for the book club because we both have to read them. And it's too hard to get one out and then have to take it back. It's called The Overstory by Richard Powers. And not many of the folks really liked it. It's an sort of an academic read. It's big, it's long. It's a set of parallel stories of people, immigrants to the US, and their lives developing, and they all meet in the Northwest trying to protect what they call the mother tree. And the book is about the interaction between nature and people. And I mean, it just was it's pretty amazing. And there are a lot of factual things in there about the ecosystem and how tree roots and funguses all interact, and it's like a city, that's how they survive, and then how they help us. Some people found it too difficult because it wasn't an easy read. And some people, found the parallel intertwined stories disturbing, sort of difficult, confusing kinds of things. And it took some work to, see how they all connected. But I think it was worth it. I chose this one because I think it has the potential to really make you think about how things in the world are related as far as survival and nurturing, and the interaction between people and their environment. And it had lots and lots of examples. I guess it just made me think. It's hard to judge deep for me, but did they have an impact? Yes. And I think I can remember being so astonished that I had never even heard of Winnie the Pooh books as a 20-year-old. And the fact that I just, the kindness and the the different characters that were there, you can see them, you know, in your friends and people that you meet. And the Overstory, I think, was a prod to continue to become more aware of these things, and I think that's a good thing. I think you can't become complacent.